So without further ado, I want to introduce Chris Penn from Brain Trust Insights. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much. All right, good morning, everyone. What was that noise? Oh, okay, cool. This is how AI will change the future of content marketing. We're going to be sharing a whole landscape of stuff. To make it even easier, if you would like to get a copy of the slides immediately, you can go to wherecanigetttheslides.com. We as content marketers have an interesting set of challenges. We have a tidal wave of content that we are trying to create, and an even bigger one that we as consumers are trying to consume. IBM calls this problem the 4V problem. We have 4 problems with content marketing today that we need to address. The first is a volume problem. How much content are we creating? Just to give you a sense of how much data and content and stuff there is, in the world right now, in 2018, which is roughly about here, we are creating about 30 zettabytes of data as a civilization. Everything from the laptop to the tweeting you're doing right now to the sensors in your home, all that is 30 zettabytes of data. A zettabyte is a really big number. It's hard to get your brain around. Imagine a single Netflix movie. Right? It is about a gigabyte in file size. If we turned 1 gigabyte into a brick, a physical brick, the amount of data we're producing every day would build 14 Great Walls of China per day. That's how much data we're creating. That's how much stuff there is digitally. And it's only going to get worse, significantly worse. Within 7 years, it's predicted that just the data from your smart sensors, building sensors, and things like that, the Internet of Things, is going to create 120 zettabytes of data on its own. That's not including what we, the humans, do, but what just the machines are doing. So we have a tremendous volume problem ahead of us. We next have to deal with the variety problem, the amount of content, the diversity of it that we have to create, we have to analyze, we have to understand. This is a fun chart. What happens in 60 seconds on the internet, and the numbers are astounding. In 60 seconds on the internet last year, 70,000 man-hours of Netflix watched. This year, 266,000 hours watched. That is a lot of Netflix and chill. We have 16 million, we know who left, 16 million text messages last year, 18 million this year, 990,000 swipes on Tinder last year, 1.1 million per 60 seconds this year. I'm guessing mostly left. But that is a tremendous amount of data in all these different formats. These different formats are what we have to deal with. It's not just spreadsheets. It's a whole variety of content. Our third problem is a velocity problem, how fast the content is coming at us. Out of curiosity, how many of you also work with like your communications and PR team? A few? Oh, wow, most of the room. All right. How many of you have ever sent out a press release? Okay, so you can stop doing that. Here's why. Someone who's graduating from college this year, was born in 1997. They saw in that year 3.6 million news stories. This year, we are on track to about 100 million news stories. That's 200,000 news stories per day. If you get a front page hit on, say, the New York Times, or you're featured on stage at Content Marketing World, you are still one of 200,000 things that people, just the news alone, that people are trying to pay attention to. 9,000 press releases a day. So that press release that you paid $1,200 for, you may as well just stop doing that and just save that budget and go drinking with it. And finally, we have a veracity problem. How truthful is our data? And we're not talking just fake news. We're talking data that misleads us. If you were to use Google Maps a number of years ago, Google has since fixed this bug, and ask to say, how do I get from, say, Topeka, Kansas to Tokyo, Japan? At one point, Google would have told you, kayak across the Pacific Ocean. This is a bad idea, unless you're really, really, really athletic. But think about your own data, your own experiences. When you're looking at data within your own systems, how misleading is it? Can you tell? Do you know whether you're working with good data or not? Do you know whether you're making sound conclusions or not? The consequences of doing it wrong are hilarious and sometimes epic failure. We create content that is tone deaf. We create content that frustrates the living daylights out of our users. And we create content that doesn't fit customer needs. So how do we go from creating boring content to creating stuff that people actually want? the general solution, unsurprisingly, since you're in this room, is artificial intelligence, which offers 3 promises: acceleration, accuracy, and automation. Acceleration is no surprise. AI is all about math. It's math and statistics. Machines are much better than that at us. They can go faster. So anything that we can use in the AI realm to take numeric-like things, we feed them to the machines instead of us doing it, it goes faster. If anyone's ever watched, say, at an ad agency or a content marketing agency, some poor intern or coordinator copying and pasting from spreadsheet to spreadsheet, that's a task that can go a lot faster. The second benefit, of course, is accuracy. Again, math and statistics is the foundation of AI. And so, again, we as humans, not so good at math compared to our machine brethren. And of course, the third benefit is automation. The more we can offload to machines, the more time we can spend doing the things that we're actually good at. So what is artificial intelligence? You're in the AI room. You've probably been to a couple other sessions already. What is this thing? It is, in short, trying to get machines to do what humans do naturally from a task perspective. If you look at how humans develop, we begin early life with basic inputs, basic processing. We evolve to things like language and general understanding, and then we end up with higher cognitive function. By the way, as the parent of a teenager, I appreciate the fact that cognitive function drops off when they hit 13. We want machines to do the same thing. We want machines to start with statistics and algorithms, evolve to machine learning, go to deep learning, and eventually get to what's called general purpose AI, which is when a machine becomes a sentient, self-thinking entity. That's not for a while. When it is, run. All AI begins with statistics and probability. How many people love statistics and probability? Okay, for everyone who did not raise your hand, you should at least develop a begrudging like for it, because this is the foundation of machine learning, of AI. Once you have stats and probability, you develop algorithms, and we use algorithms every day. As a marketer, you have undoubtedly used A/B tests, for example. That is a set of algorithms. But you do this every day. I'm going to guess probably you put the same general article of clothing on first in the mornings. Like some people put their pants on first, people put their shirts on first. You brush your teeth first, maybe you shave first. Whatever the order is, you have an algorithm. You have a repeatable, scalable process for doing things. That is what AI is built on. This is where old software stopped. Old software, you write the code, the machine then spits out the data. When we get to machine learning, it's the reverse. Machine learning is when we take data and train a machine to write its own code, essentially, and then work with future data sets. There are a few different types of machine learning, so we'll look at a few of these. Imagine you had a table full of blocks. What are the different ways that you could work with these? One branch of machine learning is called supervised learning. Supervised learning means we want to train the machine to recognize something. This is the color red, right? And we would feed images like this to the machine over and over and over and over again. When we're talking specifically about content marketing, maybe it's recognizing sentiment, for example. Teach the machines over and over and over again that sometimes the phrase WTF, but sometimes the phrase WTF generally means a bad thing, right? So we would train it. The most famous example of this is IBM Watson. In 2015, I think it was, IBM Watson was working with the University of Tokyo's Oncology Center and was working with a woman who had leukemia. They were treating her. She wasn't getting better. She was getting worse. What ended up happening was they fed her genome, her sequence genome, to Watson, and 233,000 oncology journals. Watson processed the data, did supervised learning to identify, is this the right treatment? Are we looking for the right thing? And it found out they were treating the wrong type of leukemia. They were treating her for something that was not going to be effective. So they changed her treatment. She made a full recovery. What's interesting about this is not that a machine did this, but that Watson did it in 11 minutes. The second type is unsupervised learning. Again, imagine that table full of blocks, right? And we've trained it maybe to look for a certain type of block, but maybe we want to understand what are the different ways we could work with these blocks. We could look at them as in colors. We could look at them as shapes. We could look at them as sizes. You and I can do this pretty easily, right? This is, 10, 15 blocks on a table? Imagine there's a room filled with these blocks, right? It would take a lot longer. Imagine this convention center. That's unsupervised learning lets us process a lot of data very, very quickly. For example, I was playing around and I needed to turn 71,000 paragraphs of text into an understanding of what was in the text. And just with software on my laptop, it spit it out, a chart out in less than 5 minutes. We see applications like this in content marketing all the time. What are the topics somebody's writing about? What are the topics our competitors are writing about? What are the top images being shared on Instagram? Unsupervised learning helps us process this and understand it at a much greater scale. Machine learning, like I said, is mostly math and statistics. These are a few of the algorithms that you can use: clustering, decision trees, k-means regression, linear regression, logistic, naive Bayesian, and so on and so forth. It's all stats. It's all math. If you learn the math and you learn the concepts, machine learning becomes very, very straightforward. Not easy, but straightforward to understand, because you understand, like, I know what a frying pan is for. I know what a spatula is for. I know what a pair of tongs is for. Once you understand that, you can work with specialists, work with agencies, or develop the skills yourself to cook, essentially. The third branch is what's called deep learning. And this is when you take individual machine learning algorithms and ideas and architectures and chain them together, link them together. The net outcome when you do this is machines that think like us, but much, much faster, better, and cheaper. How many of you, out of curiosity, use Google Translate, the Google Translate app, either on your phone or the desktop? Okay, a lot of you. How many of you have been using it for at least 2 years? Okay, did you notice about 1.5 years ago it got substantially better? Here's why. Google used DeepMind, which is their deep learning system, and fed all 130 languages that it knew into DeepMind and said, you figure out how to translate. And so through hundreds of layers, what Google found was there was a meta language underneath all of our individual human languages that the machine could essentially work with. So now when you translate from English to Dutch, it doesn't go English to Dutch, it goes English to Google to Dutch, or Spanish to Google to Korean. Right? And so this meta language, by the way, for those of you who are biblical scholars, this is reverse engineering the Tower of Babel. This may or may not be a good idea. But in doing so, it creates a better representation of language than any human effort to write translation software ever could have developed. So when we're talking about machine learning, it looks like this. We start with statistics, we build algorithms, we then move to machine learning where they choose the algorithms, and then deep learning where we're chaining all these things together. This is the architecture of AI. This is important for you to know, because when you go down to the expo floor, every bloody vendor on that floor is saying, we've got AI in our product. Like, cool, what kind? Tell me how it works. Is it supervised? Is it unsupervised? Does it use Bayesian regression? What's under the hood? Some companies are full of what the Spanish would call excremento de toro. Those who speak Spanish, congratulations. Others are the real deal. But by knowing and understanding this, you can evaluate vendors better, and you can also direct your own teams better. What is AI good at? Former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld said in a briefing a number of years ago that there are the known knowns and the unknown unknowns, and people kind of made fun of him at the time, but it's a really good way of thinking about artificial intelligence. The known knowns, we know what we know. We know the data, we know the quality of the data, we know the problem we're trying to solve. AI is excellent at this. Again, acceleration, accuracy, automation. This is where AI is best at. When we don't know what we know, for example, if you're in a company and you have enormous numbers of silos, rigid silos between departments, you don't know what you know. You know it's there, but sales doesn't let marketing see the data, marketing doesn't talk to PR, PR doesn't talk to accounting. You have unknown unknowns. AI can solve some problems, but it's not going to transform your business. That's more of a data science function. The same is true of this, of the known unknowns. We know what we don't know. We know we need data for X, Y, and Z. We got to go get it. We got to go create it. We got to go measure it. That's, again, more of a data science function. And finally, the unknown unknowns. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what we don't know. This is where, thankfully, everybody in this room will still be employed, because this is what we do as humans, is be truly creative, explore, understand, try and figure things out, come up with new ideas. That's where we still have a future, and why machines will not be just terminating you at your desk immediately. So what are some practical applications of this? What are some tools? There's 4 sets of tools that apply very well to content marketing: driver analysis, time series forecasting, unstructured data mining, and conversation. So let's look at a few of these tools. Let's look first at driver analysis. Driver analysis is when you have an outcome you care about and a whole bunch of data that you're not sure whether it matters or not. When you feed this data to a machine learning software, it does Technically, it could either be random forest or multiple linear regression with subset analysis. Either way, what it does is it says what things actually matter in the data. So if I put together all these columns, say you publish tweets and emails and content and video and audio and a podcast, and you go to trade shows, you have all these different things, and you care about sales, you would feed a machine learning algorithm this and tell you, hey, this combination of variables seems to have the strongest mathematical relationship to that sales thing you want. This is called attribution analysis. Machine learning powered attribution analysis is extremely powerful. I did this for a blog called Spin Sucks and looked at their outcome was lead generation. And by using machine learning, we evaluated that actually organic search was only the third most powerful driver. They were focusing a lot of time and energy on it, and they should. That's still important. But email was the number one driver. That was the thing that mattered the most. So when you do attribution analysis with machine learning, you can figure out where you should spend your time in content marketing and where's a waste of time. Waste of time. Facebook referrals here, socialracemedia.com, whatever. I mean, it's okay, but this does not look like this. So prioritization. Another application of machine learning in the foundation stage is being able to connect different data sources and understand what's going on in them. This, I've been sharing these last few days on the CM World hashtag. This is a map of who is the most talked about people at Content Marketing World. Not who does the most talking, not who has the most followers, but who has been talked about the most. This is super important because if you're trying to do things like influencer marketing, you care about who does everyone else look up to. So I want my product in the hands of, say, like a Drew Davis or an Ann Handley, because if she shares it from her stage, if she shares it on her blog, because everyone else is talking about her and everyone else is paying attention to her, I stand a much greater chance of being recognized than sharing it with somebody like whoever this poor soul is. In your own influencer marketing, using machine learning can drastically level up the amount of success you have by identifying what's really important. Again, driver analysis, what's really important. Let's talk about understanding with text mining. Text mining is probably the single thing that, as a content marketer, you want the most of, because a good chunk of your job, as for those of you who were in Andy Crestodina's session yesterday or any of the SEO sessions, you need to know what content to create. The problem is that Google's search algorithm is so complex now that no one knows how it works, including Google. It's a deep learning system. They have very little interpretability of their model. They don't know what's in the box. They know it works, and they have human quality checkers to say, hey, that doesn't look quite right. But the model itself is unknown. So what do? We have to deploy our own machine learning models to basically say, okay, for the search term like content marketing, what do the top 10 or 20 pages all have in common from a text perspective? What things do we need to put on our own content? Marketing, the definition of marketing, business examples, strategies, and so on and so forth, business to business. If we do this, again, we don't know how Google's algorithm works, but we can write our own algorithm to say, okay, at least we can check the box on making sure we're there for the right things. Another great application is understanding what content to create. I did a review of Olive Garden. For those of you who are not American, Olive Garden is a mediocre chain restaurant that pretends to be Italian. And it's fast food. It's terrible for you. They have like unlimited pasta where you can eat like 20,000 calories in one sitting. What is interesting from this perspective is we looked at not what people were saying about it, but what their employees were saying about Olive Garden, customer experience. Besides the usual complaints like low pay, long hours, and terrible managers, the one thing that stood out in 2,500 Glassdoor reviews of Olive Garden was this: soup, salad, and breadsticks. And when we looked at it, we looked, why? You are a breadstick slave. Soup, salad, and breadsticks is a hassle. Soup, salad, and breadsticks are the worst. They also get breadsticks as many as they want. In 2014, an activist investor firm pushed out the existing board of Olive Garden, and the new board came in and said, our number one priority is reducing waste and reducing food waste. And so they have this policy now where you only get the number of breadsticks in the basket as there are people at the table, which means the employees are now spending all their time being breadstick slaves. You might have saved 10 cents on food waste, but now you're churning your employees and creating a terrible customer experience. If you know this, then you know that no amount of content marketing is going to fix the fact that your servers are miserable and hate you. This is a third example. This is content marketing world as of about an hour ago. What are the words and phrases that people are using to talk about their experience here? When you look at this conversation, not only the topics like email marketing or influencer marketing, but also some of the other terms like inviting or adding or investing or hitting or guessing, this gives you as a content marketer insight as to the language people are using. If you want to influence the audience, if you want to speak as someone is used to hearing, figure out what words they're using and use those same words. Talk like your audience does rather than how you want to. The next area of artificial intelligence and content marketing is prediction, time series forecasting. Wouldn't it be great to know what's going to happen? It would be so much easier to plan, to set budgets, to staff, to have an editorial calendar if you knew what was going to happen. This is an example of hotels, people searching for Cleveland hotels, the Hilton Cleveland, Holiday Inn Cleveland, Hyatt Cleveland, Marriott Cleveland. We ran this in May of this year and forecasted all the way to April of next year. And these are the times, these are the periods of the year when search volumes go up and down. If you knew this in advance and you were the Marriott Cleveland here, you would know that for some reason, right around the end of September, you have more search interest than your competitors. You could be running campaigns against them to take even more market share away from them. If you did it more for generics, like marketing courses, media training, you could forecast forward and understand at what time of year should you be creating content around specific themes. We did a fun version called Cheese of the Week. We took 110 varieties of cheese. For those of you who have seen Monty Python's Cheese Shop, this is the data equivalent of it. When we ran this halloumi, which I guess is like a fairly thick cheese that you can grill, was the most popular cheese. And now this week here at Content Marketing World, mozzarella is the cheese that everyone is searching for. Again, if you had your top 50 or 100 or 500 or 4,000 search terms, the things you wanted to create content about, and you could sort through them to see week by week what terms be of interest to my audience, you could plan your content marketing so much better. You wouldn't have to guess, what should I be blogging about this week? If you were a cheese shop, you're blogging about mozzarella pretty much till the end of October, right? And then Edam in 2 weeks. But imagine this is with your competitors' brands. Imagine this with search topics, conversations, social media. And you can forecast more than just search volume. You can forecast lead generation from your marketing automation software. You can forecast revenue from your CRM or your ERP. Anything that is regular data over time, you can forecast forwards. There's also language, the ability for us to work with language. Chatbots. How many of you, out of curiosity, are HubSpot customers? Okay. Have you used HubSpot's new free chatbots that are in the platform? Okay. No? Not yet? They built these, and there's little to no coding. You just do the thing, and you put the bot on your site. Chatbots are a great way, again, to not just to interact with customers, but to gather information from them. When you start gathering chatbot logs and your inbox and call center stuff, you get a tremendous understanding of what the customer cares about. And then you can tune the chatbot based on that understanding to say, hey, what are the things that if you know that people are always asking your company about how many types of product do you have, you can program that into the chatbot and answer people's questions before they have them. Out of curiosity, how many of you are currently doing video, audio, or a podcast, creating it? Okay. How many of you are transcribing it? Okay, not as many hands. One of the most powerful applications of language recognition is the ability to do near real-time transcription, a very quick transcription. So every morning, for our own content marketing, I record myself on my iPhone, record a video of 10 minutes or less, because LinkedIn doesn't let you upload videos longer than 10 minutes, and rip the audio out and feed it to, in this case, this is a service called Otter, like the animal. It transcribes everything I say in those 10 minutes. I copy and paste that out of Otter, put it into my blog post. Now I've got a video, I've got audio, and I've got a text blog post written all within about 45 minutes for the start of every day. Using this for speeches like I'm recording right now. So this talk that I'm giving is going to be transcribed and will become probably a white paper. Instead of trying to create a gajillion different types of content, find one source that's rich, like video, and then use it to turn into all these other forms of content. And there are a number of good machine learning tools that do this. Like I said, this one's called Otter.ai, if you want to play with it. It's the first 10 hours every month are free. The most important thing is to start now on this stuff, because remember, machine learning takes data and turns it into code. The more data you have, the faster you can get up to speed, which means that if you wait a year or 2 years or wait for the white paper or the case study about how well this stuff works, your competitors are gathering the data sooner. Your competitors are building models sooner, so you need to get started right away. How do you get started? There is a journey to AI. It's a 7-step journey. The first step is at the bottom, the foundation of data. You need clean data. You need to have access to it across the company. You need to know what you got, the known knowns. You then need to elevate that data into answering questions like what happened, becoming data-driven, understanding your KPIs. From there, you build qualitative research capabilities. Can you say why the things in your data happened? That is a lot of research, market research. You build process automation. How do you take your data, your analysis, and your insights and turn it into something that's repeatable, a system? Because that outline, that process, and that governance is what allows you to deploy machine learning very quickly. You build your data science capabilities. You hire, or you acquire, or you contract out with people, or you build your own selves to learn statistics, mathematics, and code. That paves the way for machine learning. We can start using it tactically to solve different problems. And eventually, you're using AI across the enterprise in every relevant role, wherever it makes sense to do so. Now, if you don't have time but you've got money, the fastest way to do this is to hire or outsource the needs. And probably the 4 companies that do this best, we call them the Magi: Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and IBM. They all have on-demand stuff, and it goes from pennies per use to egregiously expensive all along the spectrum. But these are the companies that can provide these services today so that you don't have to build them, but you'll be basically taking somebody else's frying pans and spatulas and cooking with them. On the other hand, if you have time and you don't have money, learn to do it yourself. Which sounds a little flippant, but everything I've shown you today, all the stuff that the demos in content marketing, is all stuff that runs on this laptop. Right? It's not $1 million servers. It's not massive teams of data scientists. It's all stuff that's done on this poor, overworked machine using one of these 2 languages, R, the statistical programming language, or Python. It'll probably take you, if you're a reasonably intelligent person, anywhere from 6 to 12 months to learn to program in one of these languages, and then another 6 to 12 months to learn the data science. But if you've got time and you don't have money, this is how you get to it. How do you prepare your company for artificial intelligence? How do you get the team ready? You're going to need 3 kinds of people. I love the expression data is the new oil, because if you've ever seen crude oil, it's disgusting, it's tarry, it stains everything, it doesn't really do much except burn and make a mess. But you take that crude oil, extract it out of the ground, refine it into a variety of petroleum products, from gasoline to plastic bowls that don't break when you drop them, and then you deploy it to market. You do the exact same thing with your data. You need developers and data architects, people who can take data out of all your corporate systems and put them into a usable form. Data scientists then refine that data, turning it from what to why to what next. And then marketing technologists, which is everybody in this room, bring it to the business users to take action on. Sometimes these are individual people, individual developers. That's Steve Ballmer screaming and sweating profusely. Your data scientists should be people who are comfortable with math like this. This, by the way, in case you want to know, this is how you determine influence. This is the formula, so enjoy. And then the marketing technologists. That's who you're going to need to make it happen. How do you prepare your career for it? There are 4 things you need to think about for your own career. Number 1 is multidisciplinary skills. A machine can do a lot of the tasks in any one thing here, because in any one of these skills, because a lot of the stuff that you do on a day-to-day basis in some of these disciplines is very repetitive. If you can repeat it, you can automate it. If you can automate it, you don't need to do it. But for your career, if you are good at user interface design and you're good at stats and you're good at SEO, you are very difficult to replace. You are very, very difficult to even understand because you think across disciplines. So think about all of your own background and training. What are the things that you know how to do across disciplines that allow you to be effective? And how can you increase that? How can you make that more complex? How can you bring in things from your personal life like music or art or literature to inform your work and make you irreplaceable? The second thing is to learn how to think algorithmically. Learn how to think like a machine. You don't have to be a programmer, but you have to be able to think, how can I automate this? If you've ever asked yourself, hey, is there an app for that? You are thinking along the right lines. Right? That shows that you're thinking, I can turn this into a system rather than repeating the same thing manually day after day after day. The third thing is to learn how to oversee the machines. For the next 5 or 10 years, we are going to need people who can inspect what the machines put out, even if we don't understand what's inside the model. A couple of years ago, ProPublica did a fascinating piece on a police department in Georgia that tried to create a predictive algorithm about who would re-offend, people who were identified and had committed some offense, which ones were most likely to re-offend. Their algorithm was 20% right. You would have been better off flipping a coin. Whoever wrote it was an idiot coder. But it also flagged African Americans as 5 times more likely to offend than they actually did. Someone built their bias into the machine. And had that been allowed to go to production, there would have been significant consequences to people's lives. Even in your own marketing, even in your own companies, what are the biases in your data? And can you identify them? Can you find them? Can you root them out? And can you say to your data science and machine learning team or agency or whatever, that's not okay. What just came out of the machine is not okay. In hiring, this is especially problematic. We may say, hey, we're going to disallow age or race or gender as hiring criteria. But if I have your Facebook likes for the music, the movies, and the books you like, I can infer all 3 of those characteristics with about 99% accuracy. Right? So we have to be able to inspect the models and say, machine, you're still discriminating. Even if we said these variables are not allowed, you're still coming up with those outcomes. So we have to be able to inspect the machines. And we have to be outcome focused. By this, I mean you don't necessarily have to learn to code because the technology is changing so fast. I used to have this chart hanging up in my office, and I would be teaching myself, one function at a time. How do I use this function in Keras, which is a deep learning system? How do I use fit generator? I got to about the first column. It took me 9 months. Then I went to IBM Think this past March, and IBM said, hey, working with Keras and deep learning, how it's a kind of a pain in the butt, we made it drag and drop. I'm like, dang it. So now, as long as I understand the architecture and the strategy and what the pieces do, I don't have to write the code anymore. I drag and drop, connect them together, and now I can make deep learning systems very, very quickly because I know what I want, I know the outcome I want, and then the machine does it for you. In the future, there's going to be 2 kinds of jobs. Right? Either you're going to manage the machines or the machines are going to manage you. And quite honestly, we're already there at that future. That future is today. I was at the supermarket, a couple of weeks ago, and I was watching this guy pushing the cleaning supplies cart, and he had one of the little scanners, like when you do the self-serve line. He had a little scanner, and he would walk to one aisle and scan the top of the aisle, and then walk down the aisle, pick up stuff, and go to the other end of the aisle and scan that end of the aisle. And I'm like, what is he doing? A machine's managing him. He's being tracked. Did you go through this aisle? How quickly did you go through the aisle? You go through too fast, you're not doing your job. You go through too slow, you're an inefficient worker. Right? So we're already being managed by the machines. You are being managed by a machine. I guarantee you 99% of you in the room are being managed by a machine every day. It is called your phone, and it dictates your life. Right? So we're there. But from our own perspectives, from our company's perspectives, how can we be in charge of the transformation? How can we take charge of it so that we're not left to the whims of the machines? Finally, these are the things that AI can't do at present. Machines cannot do empathy. Right? They cannot understand because they don't think like we do. They think very differently than we do. Machines cannot, therefore, apply judgment, human judgment, the ability to say, you know what? I'm going to let you in this conference session for free. You're a nice person or whatever. The machines can't do that. Machines would just say yes or no. Machines, because all AI right now is narrow, applied to a specific purpose, machines cannot do general life experience. They don't understand it. They can't do multi-domain thinking. And finally, for the most part, machines cannot do human-to-human relationships. The exception for this rule is if your customer experience is so horrible that anything would be better, including stabbing yourself with a fork, then a machine will actually be an upgrade, right? Think about last time you went to the Department of Motor Vehicles. You would love for those to all be robots. Like, it'll be at least a tolerable experience, right? So this one is contingent upon the quality of the work that you do. But this is the future of content marketing, of marketing in general, of your company and your career. There's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot to learn. And the sooner you get started, the better off you're going to be. Thank you very much.
If you want help with your company's data and analytics, visit braintrustinsights.com today and let us know how we can help you.